and welcome to my build series on YouTube. This is going to be my Magica Dragonknight build, and let's get right into it. And before we start, actually, I want to make sure that it's known that for you copyright people that are watching this video right now, this music is copyright free. Go ahead and look it up. So before you try to claim my video, go ahead and have a look at that. And now let's get started. So this is my what do you call it? This is my dungeon build that I've been running in my streams lately on Twitch. So you know what? I'm actually running the wrong food right now because I was fishing. So now this is the correct food. Also, to test, I've been using, especially on this 6mm dummy, I've been using Ghastly Eye Bowl. It's also called Ice Cream in the buff trackers. So yeah, check that out. This is really good. It simulates raid sustain and orbs and things like that. Very good to test with. So yeah, try using that. For the front bar set, we are running Mother Sorrow, we are running a flame, and we are also running shock damage on the front to infused. We are running Zan. We're running too heavy because we don't have anything else, but that's fine. It doesn't really make a huge difference. We are running Sororias. We have a couple of off traits, like the feet should be divines. Everything else is pretty good though. And we are also running purple Mother Sorrow jewelry with one Bloodthirsty. You can choose either Bloodthirsty or you could choose infused. They're pretty similar for fights like VMAL when you're at Rakat. Most groups would want you in 3 arcane, so just make sure you bring a couple of different traits with you wherever you go. The Magica Dragonknight is all about dots though, so we're not looking at single target or a whole lot of it just yet. But yeah, so we are running for our potions. We are running the spell power potions. So it's the major sorcery, major prophecy, and then you get the magicka back as well. So that is cornflower, lady smock, and water hyacinth. That's what you're looking for when you run most of these magic builds. I technically don't have to run the spell critical end of it, so I could skip the hyacinth if I wanted to. But you still need to run Cornflower and Lady Smock, and that's because I doubled our Inner Light. So let's get into the skills. Oh, and before we get into the skills, I wanted to make sure that it is well known that the reason why I'm running Sororia is because the Magica Dragonknight is a stack and burn kind of. It's a melee build. You don't run. This is not a ranged character. You don't run a Magica Dragonknight in ranged. You just don't. So you are going to be stacking with the Stam. So Sororia will work rather well for you in this situation, and also Zan will as well. So this, like, the whole thing works really well. The back bar, Maelstrom Inferno Staff infused, of course, and we are running the Flame Glyph on that. We did have Berserker last patch. Berserker seems to be sort of nerfed. Well, it's not nerfed, but it's I didn't mean nerfed. Berserker is for ad pulls. Berserker is a massive cleave thing. Thing about the Magica Dragonknight, we don't have a whole lot of cleave. We are a single target dot build, so you're basically doing damage over time to a single target. You're not doing it to a whole lot. So a good majority of your abilities are damage over time. So with that said, let's get into the character. This is one of the only characters that I have that is actually a vampire. We are a dark elf and we do run the Thief Stone. ESO Plus is a DPS increase. I'm just kidding. We do run sorority, so we get the Minor Slayer, Major Prophecy, obviously, with the Inner Light. And for food, we're running the cheap stuff, the Witch Mother's Potent Brew. We could run a Clockwork Fillet if you really want to. It's up to you. For dungeons, I don't really want to use the high-end food. I'll use Witch Mother's Brew, and that works just fine for me. So let's get right into the skills. For the front bar skills, we have Burning Embers, which is an amazing heal ability. People don't really notice this part of the ability, but when it runs out after it ends, or when you refresh it, it will heal you for 75% of the total damage inflicted, which is insane. It's insane. So you're getting like with the 15k flame damage there, you're getting at least a 10k heal after 10 seconds. And you can refresh it as many times as you want. If you feel like you really need a bunch of heals, just keep spamming that, and you'll get your heals. Engulfing Flames. A lot of tanks run this. If you have a Magica Dragonknight, the tank can actually take this off because this is an active part of your rotation. It will almost never drop off if you're running your rotation correctly. Flame Lash. Flame Lash is one of those things that people don't really like, but when you're playing a Magica Dragonknight, this is the morph that you want. It does consume off balance. Or it did last patch. I'm actually not sure if it still consumes off balance or not. But worth taking note of, especially if you plan on running in a raid. Just clear it with your raid leader, and it should be fine. Inner Light, obviously, because we double bar it, and Elemental Drain. We only run this because we need the Destruction Staff passives, and this is the Murkmire patch for console. So this build is for the PlayStation 4, and I know this is late, but it's taken me this long to work out the kinks in the build. So next patch, the build will be the same. I will just be dropping Elemental Drain for Channeled Focus or something similar to that. So this build will be exactly the same, and it will be a high elf, not a dark elf. So, or Breton, if you can't sustain. Shooting Star is the front bar ultimate. We use that because that's the cheapest ultimate that we have, and we need a cheap ultimate. I don't know. In a DPS parse, my DPS is so high with this guy that I can't even cast this. I only get one ultimate. So, back bar, Blockade of Fire. All the magic DPS should have this. This buffs the Maelstrom Staff, and it also, if their enemies are burning, they take 20% more damage. So, super good, super helpful. Eruption. Eruption is our second ability that does ground damage. So it's 18 seconds long. That's the thing. Like, a lot of this stuff is super long, right? So you cast Blockade, then you cast Eruption, then the next ability is Flames of Oblivion. That's 15 seconds long. So every 5 seconds it deals about 6.5k damage. Can crit. So you'll be getting around 10 to 11k, something like that, flame damage. Inner Light again, double barred, and then we have our shield, which we barely. If it's basically the oh shit button, And then Standard of Might. This is where the Dragon Knight kind of shines. Standing in the area increases your damage done and reduces damage taken by 15%. So it's basically like Major Slayer. It's like a Major Slayer self buff. That you can cast it on cooldown, and allies can activate a pretty nice shackle synergy and deal some more damage to enemies, and it's just a really nice, happy thing for the whole group. The whole group can utilize this amazing ultimate. So that's our bar setups. Alright, and now we're going to move right along into the champion points. So first, we'll do the blue tree here, because that's the only tree that matters. Do 63 Elfborn, that gives us 21.5% to critical damage and critical healing. This is the extra couple of points is because we didn't have anywhere else to put them. 49 into Elemental Expert. So that brings it up to a flat 11% damage boost. 2 Flame Frost, Shock, and Magic. Spell Erosion we brought down to 10 because dungeons and 4-man content, the resistance cap is a little bit lower generally than in Trials. Staff Expert we have to 23 because of our light attacks. And occasionally we do a heavy attack, so 14% extra damage on that. Master at Arms we brought to 52. The reason for that is our whip is our primary spammable, and that is direct damage. And last but not least, 73 into Thaumaturge, because the Magica Dragonknight is full of dots. So damage over time is a big deal on the Magica Dragonknight. Therefore, you should have your Thaumaturge up. You could even go to 75. You could take a few points out of Elfborn, and or maybe 1 point out of Elfborn, and then put, like, you could probably just juggle your points around a little bit, get your Thaumaturge up to 75, and that would unlock the Exploiter passive. That increases your damage done by against off balance enemies by 10%. So you could do that, and I haven't exactly tested that out yet, because off balance is so rare now with the nerf that it doesn't really matter. But yeah, you can do it the way you want. So for the green tree, we do 44 Warlord, 76 Arcanist, 75 Tenacity, then 1 into Shade, 37 into Shadow Ward, 37 into Tumbling. Just a generalized thing, so you can get the Merchant Favorite and the Treasure Hunter there, while receiving benefits for having those points. 76 in an Arcanist because I didn't really have an extra place to put the extra point. And of course, Warlord is great for breaking free in Trials. So Red Tree is always situational. Generally, I run a pretty generic setup that works for everything. So you can go ahead and whatever makes you comfortable in the Red Tree is good to go. So that is the champion points. Let's move on. So now let's get into the rotation. If you're noticing, now I have updated my parsing areas. I feel like they're a lot nicer. I spent a little bit of gold, got things decorated anyway. Oh yeah, and I got the Samaja. So anyway, so here's the rotation. Now take this with a grain of salt, but this is pretty much how I do it. Now what you do is you Elemental Drain, right? Buff with your potion, swap, Wall, Eruption, Flames, Breath, 1, 2, 3, swap, Wall, 1, 2, 3, reapply, Ellie, 2, 3, swap, reapply everything. I'm going to show the full rotation now. Basically, you Ellie Drain, and now it is Wall, Eruption, Flames of Oblivion, Swipe, Breath, 1, 2, Standard, and then 1, 2, 3, reapply, 4, 5, 6, swap, reapply everything. 1, 2, 3, swap. 1, 2, 3, 4. Reapply all your dots. And right about here, where you're almost done, you don't need to reapply Eruption. So that's essentially what you would get with the Mother Sorrow. Like all the way through your entire rotation, you'll be getting right around 46, 47k. You could feasibly get to 50k, but that would take a lot of RNG to get you there. And you'd be sitting there burning the candle at both ends. You'd be burning up your spell power potions. You'd be burning everything up just to get that stupid 50k mark. And then you'd be King Dummy Humper. But honestly, who gives a shit? Don't hump dummies. Go do a fucking trial. Yeah. Listen to Stimpy. Stimpy knows. Here he is. Stimpy knows. Go do a fucking trial. Go do a fucking trial. He's gonna twerk. He's gonna twerk right on this thing. Go do a trial. Later. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.